Hi guys, this is Lauren with Lauren Watkins Art, and today I am giving myself a bit of a challenge. I challenged myself to draw a red apple using this Paul Rubens set of 48 pastels. Now, I know on the surface that doesn't seem like much of a challenge at all. It's like, oh, just draw a red apple. Apples aren't that hard to draw. Well, this set only has one true red, and I am to make this apple read as red to the visual eye. And I have one red to work with. There's some oranges, some like salmony colors, and there's some pinks and one red violet, but there is only one red in the set. The other challenge I gave myself was to work on black paper. I don't often work on black paper, and so it introduced a whole different level of challenges. Typically, I'll do an underpainting because my paper is lighter in value and I get to tint the paper whatever color I want. So working on a black paper that I can't tint and tone to help aid me on this process was also a bit of a challenge. I started off by sketching out this apple using a white pastel pencil just so it'd be easy to see all of my markings, and then I went in with my pastels. Now, I could have done this challenge with just that red pastel, the black pastel, and a white pastel, and then created tints and shades of red by mixing it with the black and with the white, and that could have given me a good value range. But then the apple would have read as kind of flat and kind of dull looking, and I wanted to push myself to use as many colors as possible while still having it read as red. I really liked this challenge because it pushed me outside my comfort zone. I couldn't do my normal steps of how I would approach a painting. If you've been following me along, you know I typically do like an underpainting and blend it out with rubbing alcohol and just build up a lot of layers. I couldn't do that with this piece. And so I had to think more creatively and think more about how I was going to approach it. So I used my pastels mostly on their wide flat edge to start blocking in these early layers. I'm keeping a very light hand. That's why you can see that black peeking through. It's because I'm not pressing hard because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of layers. And I am just being very conscientious of where the highlights and the shadows are going to be. I'm having the shadow side be on the right side. So I'm using my darker colors there. And I'm also making sure my markings are following the natural curve of the apple. So wherever there's going to be a curve, I'm making my lines mirror that. So on the right hand side, I'm kind of doing backward C motions to follow that natural curve of the apple. If I'm on the left hand side, I'm doing a C shape and C shape markings. That way I can start developing the shape and the dimension to the apple. One of the lessons I learned early on in art was how color and value are relative to what's around it. So you can have a color and you think, wow, that is so red. And then you put it next to something else and all of a sudden it doesn't read as red because it's being affected by the color next to it. Value is the same way. You could be using the brightest white highlight and it's not bright enough. And that's because the colors around it are lighter in value and you need to darken them up so suddenly that white highlight will stand out. So when you are working with a limited color palette, you have to work within the confines of that. So if I take that black pastel out of the equation and just use the value ranges of the rest of the colors in the set, my darkest darks are the dark blue, the burnt sienna, the dark gray, and then I would say the red and the green and maybe the red violet. Those are my darkest darks in the set. And they're actually not that dark if you were looking at the full value range from white to black. But that is what I have to work with on this set. And I can't mix them to make them darker. With watercolor, you can use less water, you can mix other colors, and you can get them quite a bit darker. But with pastels, it doesn't work that way. So I had to remind myself about what colors were my darkest darks, and it became a challenge to gauge if I was getting things dark enough because I kept being thrown off by how dark the paper is. And I realized very quickly that I was going to have to lighten up that background so that in relativity to everything else, the dark shadows that I was putting on the apple would look darker. Side note, I left this clip in to remind you not to blow the pastel dust off of your paper, and instead just pick up your paper and tap it off into the garbage can, and then you can bring it back and continue to work on it. You don't want to get that pastel dust up in your nose and in your lungs, and you don't want to make a mess of your studio. So just tap it off and then you can come back to working on it. Earlier I mentioned how with watercolor, you can take your tubes of paints, you can squeeze that paint out, and you can mix it on your palette, and you get endless possibilities of what colors are available to you to work with. And then you can adjust the concentration of water to make it darker or lighter in value. With pastels, you don't have that. You are limited with mixing with how much your paper can handle and by how you layer your pastels on your surface. You can use blending tools and that can help color mix, but it's just a little bit limited. But what I love about it, and this is part of why I fell in love with soft pastels, is how the colors layer on top of each other and how they mix, and how you can lay down a color and you can see little peaks and gaps of the previous layers underneath, and you kind of get this speckled effect. And I absolutely love that about soft pastels, and it's part of the reason why I've been trying to do better at not over blending my work. So I used a rubber shaper earlier to kind of blend out some edges. You will always have to do a little bit of blending with pastels, but I love the look of the different layers of pastel layering together on the paper. It just is so visually interesting. So I have been working on doing better at not over blending my work. I noticed at the beginning of last year when I was coming back into art and working with pastels again, if I felt stuck and I didn't know what to do, I would just start blending. And I was often undoing a lot of the work I did, and then I'd go back and redo that same thing over and over again. And I'd kind of get in this like blending and then redo it cycle over and over again. And I have been consciously working on not blending too much. And I was really glad that I've been putting so much effort into it, because I feel like this painting in particular really benefited from not being over blended, not being perfectly smooth. It had a lot more of a painterly feel to it and a liveliness that I haven't had in my work in recent years. And I think it's because I've been over blending. I had to really lean into my knowledge of color theory for this piece, whether it's how I was layering the colors on the apple, how I was trying to make the red stand out. I really had to play with color and embrace color for this piece. And one of the things I decided to do was make the background green, because red and green are opposite colors, meaning when you mix them together, they neutralize each other out and that you get a lot of grays and they reduce each other's vibrancy. But when they are next to each other, so not mixed, just next to each other, they make each other brighter and they stand out more. So by doing that green background, it was making the red in the apple stand out more and make it more visually present. Also, by lightening up that background, it reduced the contrast between the apple and the background. When it was pure black, there was a really high amount of contrast, and that apple was almost looking like anemic and kind of sickly, like there wasn't enough color to it or like saturation to it. But by lightening up that background, this all feels a little bit more harmonious, and the shadows on the apple are standing out a little bit more than they were beforehand. So it's all starting to pull together, and I was feeling pretty excited with how the apple was looking at this point. Now I'm just going in and starting the refining process. I'm cleaning up edges, getting rid of any like halos from where the apple meets the background and I've left a gap. I am drawing in the stem. I'd kind of held off on doing that because I knew I was going to add a background, and I didn't want to draw a stem and then have to paint all the way around it or have to redraw it after it gets covered up with the background. So I just kind of held off on that detail until the end. And now I'm just kind of just cleaning up the edges of the apple and kind of pulling this piece all together. But while I was working on this project, it brought back a core memory from my high school art class. I was in a drawing 2 class, and up until this point, we had only worked in black and white and grayscale. So we'd done pen and ink artwork, we'd done graphite, and we had done charcoal. And I showed up to class one day, and my teacher had this white taxidermied crane set up in the middle of the classroom with some fake grass, and he had some soft pastels out, and they were pretty hard pastels. They were like the new pastels from Prismacolor. and we were supposed to draw this crane. And I was kind of thrown off for a bit because I didn't know how to draw a white crane that's on white paper, and the background of the crane was also white. And I was trying to figure out how, like, what colors do I use? And finally, I just started using like blues and purples in the shadow areas, and I was worried that my crane would start looking too colorful. But when I stood back from my painting, it still read as white. But when you got up close, you had all of these surprising colors showing up. And that was when it clicked for me that you could have fun with color, and your colors didn't have to match the object exactly. So it's just kind of crazy how an art project I did 20 years ago is still influencing my style of art and how I approach color today. So now I'm just looking at my picture and seeing what final tweaks and adjustments it needs. And the first thing I felt like it needed was the table to sit up just a little bit higher than where it was. I felt like that just helped bring a little bit more balance to the composition. And then I felt like my apple needed a little bit of texture to it to help differentiate it from the background and the table. Apples are usually smooth, so I didn't want it to feel fuzzy or anything like that. But lots of times apples have kind of a speckled pattern of color on it, and I'm trying to recreate that. But I also didn't want to do like individual polka dots. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my pastel and kind of holding it up onto its edge and rolling it back and forth. And that's creating these like little variegated lines where some of them are thicker, some of them are thinner. It's kind of speckled, and I'm just kind of rolling it back and forth, and I'm switching up what colors I'm doing this with. And this is creating a little bit more dimension and texture to the apple and helping it kind of come to life a little bit more. So as I go in and do the last final marks on this piece, I have a confession to make. I am a big fat cheater. I am going to cheat on this challenge. Well, not really cheat because I made up the rules, but I'm going to use workable fixative. Now, I don't need workable fixative for this piece. I haven't filled in the tooth of the paper. I could still apply many more layers to this piece and be just fine. But workable fixative is notorious for darkening up your image, and I decided to apply it to the right-hand side of the paper. You can see me applying it right here, and it just darkens up those values wherever I sprayed it, and that really helped this image kind of come to life. So that is one of my tips for you, especially if you are just getting started in soft pastels and you don't have very many darks to work with. Grab a can of workable fixative, and you can use it to darken up the values in the areas of your painting that aren't quite dark enough. I'm really glad I used it because I feel like it just helped this picture come together and just add a little bit more depth to the piece. It kind of reminds me of when you add varnish to an acrylic painting and all of a sudden it goes from looking flat to very lively. Anyways, here is the close-up of the painting. I love how much texture and layers of color you can still see within the piece. It's not overly refined. And I'm really glad I gave myself this challenge. It was a good exercise and really pushed my creativity. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of what I create, please hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.